The man at the forefront of peace efforts with the Taliban killed. Who is behind the assassination, and does it scupper any chances for negotiations? What does this mean for the future of Afghanistan? This is Inside Story. Hello there and welcome to the programme. I'm Laura Kyle. Hundreds of Afghans are mourning their former president, Burhanuddin Rabbani, who was killed in Kabul on Tuesday. The Taliban has refused to comment on Wednesday on the assassination, saying any claim that they were responsible has no basis. Rabbani spearheaded efforts for peace talks despite fierce resistance on many fronts. His death casts doubt over the future of reconciliation in a country shattered by decades of chaos. Jennifer Glass has more from Kabul.
Afghans began gathering in the early morning outside Burhanuddin Rabbani's residence in Kabul in tribute to the slain former president and head of the peace process. Afghan dignitaries and officials from across the country are coming here to pay their respects. His colleagues called him a tireless ambassador for peace. Rabbani was killed on Tuesday night by explosives hidden in the turban of a man who offered the promise of progress in negotiations with the Taliban. Afghan President Hamid Karzai cut short his U.S. visit to return to Afghanistan for the funeral. Before leaving, he and U.S. President Barack Obama vowed the peace process would continue regardless of Rabbani's death.
The mission that he had undertaken was vital, Mr. President, for the Afghan people and for the security of our country and for peace in our country. We will miss him very, very much.
It is a tragic loss. We want to extend our heartfelt condolences to you, his family, and the people of Afghanistan. But, Mr. President, I think we both believe that despite this incident, we will not be deterred from creating a path whereby Afghans can live in freedom and safety and security and prosperity.
In Kabul, security is tight, with police and military forces setting up checkpoints around the city.
The killing occurred inside Rabbani's home in one of Kabul's most fortified neighborhoods. It's not far from the U.S. Embassy and NATO force headquarters. Last week, the site of an audacious assault that lasted 20 hours.
Taliban fighters have been targeting Afghan government officials. In May, the head of police forces in the northern zone, General Dawood, was killed. And in July, President Karzai's brother, Ahmed Wali Karzai, and Jan Mohammed, one of the president's closest aides, were both killed. Rabbani was president of Afghanistan from 1992 to 1996, as the country descended into civil war. Human Rights Watch accused him of war crimes during that period. He fled from Kabul as the Taliban took control and went on to head the Northern Alliance to oppose the Taliban. Last year, Karzai appointed him head of the High Peace Council to bring the Taliban to the negotiating table. With Rabbani's death, the prospects of reconciliation with the Taliban appear slimmer. Jennifer Glass, Al Jazeera, Kabul.
A difficult day indeed for Afghanistan. Joining us to discuss it today are our guests in Kabul, Ahmed Shah Ahmadzai, former Prime Minister of Afghanistan. In Islamabad, retired Major General Jamshid Ayaz Khan, a defence and security analyst for the region. And joining us on the phone from Kabul is Ahmad Wali Massoud, former Afghan ambassador to the UK, now head of the Massoud Foundation. Ahmed Shah Ahmadzai, if I could start with you. We've had no claims of responsibility yet for this attack, but who do you feel might be behind it?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, may Allah bless our Ustaz, Professor's soul. And this is today is a very bad and sad day for the whole of Afghan Mujahid nation. And who is behind the assassination till now, I myself, I don't know, because Taliban did not announce the accusation, or they did not claim that they did this. And God knows who was behind the assassination, but in Afghanistan, the political situation is very dark and very confusing. And who did it, this will be clear later on.
OK, Ahmed Wali Massoud, just trying to get everyone's feelings here on who was to blame. Where are your feelings lying at the moment as to who was behind this attack?
Still, there are not official confirmation And of course, it's not yet known. But what has happened for the past 1.5 days since Professor Rabbani has been killed, of course, what we know for the fact is that 3 people came to his house. 2 of them belong to the Taliban, Wahid Yar and Nasrullah. And the third one, Masoom Sanekzai, was the official of the government. So 3 entered Professor Rabbani's house, and one of those 3 caused Professor Rabbani to be killed. So that is a fact. The second thing is that before they came to his house, President Karzai phoned Professor Rabbani and insisting that he should meet these people. They are very important Taliban leaders. He has to meet them. So therefore, Professor Rabbani cut short his visit as he was coming from Tehran to Dubai, and then he cut short his visit, did not stay in Dubai. Straight, he came from Dubai to Kabul to meet these people. And after 1.5 hours that he was at home, these people entered the house and they killed him. Now, these are the facts. But based on these facts, then we will get to know later on the likes of these facts, who were responsible. But whoever were responsible, they were the enemy of Afghanistan. They were the enemy of unity of Afghanistan. They did not want Afghanistan to come to peace. So we would know later who were responsible.
Okay. Major General Jamshid Khan in Pakistan there, do you believe that this could have been at least an element of the Taliban, if the bomber was not at least representing the leadership?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think at the outset one would not like to say anything because it's very doubtful who was the person behind it. But I think one thing is clear, that somebody who didn't want the peace process to go ahead, somebody who did like Mr. Rabbani, who's a very popular leader, who's a person who has been popular not only in Afghanistan but also elsewhere. I know in Pakistan everybody is mourning his death. So that is the point of view here, that he is such a popular leader and he was trying to negotiate peace. And the answer to all the problems in this area is to bring peace into the area, to have a dialogue with the Taliban. So who could be the person who did not want to have the Taliban having a dialogue with these people? So that is a question. But I personally think we have to wait and we have to go for the facts and then slowly reduce our options that who will be behind this.
Okay.
But somebody definitely who doesn't want the peace process.
Who might be the other major suspects at this point?
The point is, at the moment, it seems somebody who doesn't like the peace process to go on, doesn't want the Taliban to negotiate. So it should be a hardliner of the Taliban who did this. That's a possibility. Or it could be a nice outsider who was there along with as a friend. Because we have to know that, because nobody could get so close to them without showing himself as a friend of the people.
Would it perhaps point towards the Haqqani network, to elements of Al-Qaeda?
See, I think let's not at this moment say for sure, but it could have been possibly somebody from Al-Qaeda, because lately they have been very active in this area, in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. So it could be the Al-Qaeda, but as far as the others are concerned, it could be anybody. So I will not bet myself on myself.
Okay. Ahmad Wali Masood, it's reported that the High Peace Council had been talking for some 5 months with this man who was the bomber. Do you not think there were any suspicions within the council towards him?
Well, again, there are so many questions to be answered. As I mentioned before, that at least 2 of the 3 members who met Professor Rabbani yesterday, they belong to the Taliban. And so, of course, one of them belonged to the Peace Council as well. Not only that, before these people came to Professor Rabbani's house, they were in the guest house of Peace Council for 4 days before they came. So therefore, they are all suspicious right now. But of course, I do not want to speculate right now before, the reality being revealed, who who was responsible. But let me say that we really cannot go very far saying that, well, anyone can be responsible. No, I don't think so. Anyone can be responsible. Those people who have been responsible to eliminate the commanders of the resistance of the Mujahideen for the past 1 year, Dawood Khan, Ahmed Bari Karzai, Malik Zareen, Khan Muhammad Khan from Kandahar, Said Khili, all of them. So it's a chain sort of killing which is happening. All of them pointed to those people who are resisting against Taliban. So therefore, Professor Rabbani's death cannot be separated from the chain of the killing. So the things are clear. But as the general put it rightly, let's see who was behind the Taliban. Let me say one thing very clear, that Taliban have been used as a tool in Afghanistan for a long, long time. But who are the real orchestrators and those who are planning to assassinate these known figures of the jihad and resistance of Afghanistan? We have to get to know to them. The Taliban are just a tool. One day they say they take responsibility. The next day when they are being told, they say, well, they don't take responsibility. They deny that they were responsible yesterday.
Ahmed Shah, Ahmadzai, if we can turn just briefly to Rabbani's legacy, I'd like to get an idea from you as to what you think he achieved as the head of the High Peace Council.
I know the problem of the peace in Afghanistan, which is very, very, very needed for every single Afghan, even for all those who are living in the region. This is very clear that the need is there. But the problem is, so far the foreign forces are here militarily in this country. Afghans will not even see a single day in their life a peace. The whole problem is with the existence of foreign forces in this country. If the country is evacuated from the foreign forces, then it is easy for any Afghan to process or to go ahead for the peace. But I'm insisting in this, that till the foreign forces are here in this country, Afghans unfortunately will not see any peace and any stable Afghanistan anymore.
Okay, Major General Jamshid Ayaz Khan, if I could direct that to you. Is the problem here in Afghanistan the presence of foreign forces?
See, the point is, no country in the world, a sovereign country, wants the foreign forces to be there. So obviously nobody wants that, and Afghans definitely, who are one of the best fighters in the world, they will definitely not allow the people to be here. But if they are there for a reason and they are there for a peaceful purpose, it's a different matter. So the foreign forces have to withdraw, have to go away at some place at some time, and the answer is only will come if the stability comes into this area. Negotiation is very important with the Taliban, with all the forces, because of the people in Afghanistan will continue to fight till forever, until and unless the area is free of foreign forces. So I think it's important that we understand that it is not worth its while to be here. But negotiation is important. But how important it is and who has to do it? I think what Mr. Rabbani was doing was something fantastic. But somebody didn't want it and somebody pulled the trigger on him. And that is the reason why this could not take place. I think it could be an outside power who had the hand in it, or it could be an inside man who was not happy with the negotiations. So it has to be somebody, but I think the Taliban or whoever you want to call them, they will continue to fight in this area. First they will fight, then their son, and then their grandson.
Okay.
So we don't want this to go on. We want stability in the area. Stability in Afghanistan means stability all around.
Ahmed Wali Massoud, was Rabbani the right person to be heading these peace efforts with the Taliban? Let's not forget that he was also a former head of the Northern Alliance, which of course fought the group for a very long time. Was he the right person to be the head of the Peace Council?
Let me first point out one thing, that the Taliban and Al-Qaeda started fighting the people of Afghanistan before foreign forces came to Afghanistan. They started their fight long time before, 1994 and in 1996. So the foreign troops came 2001. So they started their onslaught before the foreign force came to Afghanistan. Of course, I do not want to say that foreign forces should stay in this country. No, they should come out as soon as possible, as soon as the situation is right. But it does not mean we should not give any excuse to Taliban or to those who are supporting Taliban to say because of the foreign forces they are fighting here. No, they started their fight a long time ago. They massacred Afghan people and all of that. But then, talking about the peace, whether Professor Rabbani was the right person to do the peace. Well, Professor Rabbani he was a strong personality. He was the leader of the resistance. He was the leader of jihad. He was a known, respectable man. Yes, he fought the Taliban. But at the same time, he was chosen to really reach peace with Taliban. He did all his effort. But let me say very clearly that from the time the government started the peace process with Taliban, that was the wrong start. The mechanism was wrong. The government was weak. The peace process, the peace with the Taliban should have started from this position of strength. This government is fragile, it's weak, it's corrupt. It's not respected by the people of Afghanistan. So therefore, for this government to start peace process with Taliban or with anybody, it's not viable, it's not practical. The government of Afghanistan under Mr. Karzai is turned as a part of the problem. That in itself is a big obstacle towards peace. It's not part of the solution. So therefore, we should give the concentration on the government of Afghanistan, which is under Mr. Karzai. I'm pretty sure that Mr. Karzai is using the peace process as sort of political critics in order to do his own political maneuver, not to bring peace to this country.
Can I just cut in for a moment? Can I ask you whether Hamid Karzai is wrong to keep believing that elements of the Taliban also seek peace?
Put it this way. I mean, this so-called peace under Mr. Karzai's government have started years ago. But so far, for the past years, we have not seen a single positive step towards peace. Now, we should not really kind of give the excuse that, well, there are some elements who want peace, there are some elements who don't. But those elements who want peace, of course, we're always ready to say embrace peace. But our concern, our problem, the agony of the Afghan nation, all of them is with those who don't want peace, who are massacring, who are doing suicide bombing, who are removing this elite of jihad and resistance. They are the problem. So our concern is them, not these people who are sitting in the guest house of Mr. Karzai in Kabul, like Mullah Wakil Ahmad, Mullah Zaid, Mullah Mutawakkil. Well, they're here. Even if they go with Taliban, Taliban will kill them as well. So therefore, we should not really kind of make a distinction that there are some elements who want peace. Of course, if those elements want peace, we are always ready to embrace it. But our concern is those who are killing every day our leaders. That is our concern.
OK. Ahmadzai, it's true, isn't it? There's been very little progress in moves towards negotiations with the Taliban, ways to find peace. What do you think is the way forward now?
You know, the problem is we have to look at the Afghan crisis, especially fighting situation, very carefully. There are two important parts in this fight. One side is the American and the other side is Taliban. If Taliban and Americans start talks directly with no mediation, then we can hope that the peace will come to Afghanistan. If Americans are not ready to talk to the Taliban directly, there is no hope, even if there are so many middle mediators and groups of the peace process, that does not work at all.
Can I just ask you at this point, how can you, on the one hand, ask the Americans to talk directly to the Taliban, but on the other hand, demand that all foreign forces leave Afghanistan?
Yeah, the condition of the Taliban is, and also the condition of most of the Afghans is this, that the foreign troops must go from Afghanistan, then the whole then the whole world can help us. There are so many ways that the international community and other peace-loving people can help the Afghans. But the first thing, as far as the foreign troops are here, there will be no peace in Afghanistan at all.
Major General, is the Taliban ready to talk directly to the Americans?
Yeah, I think, the 2 points are very important. One, the ceasefire should be there. That is the first thing, because the suicide bombing and what have you is a big problem. So we should attempt at the international level a ceasefire between everybody who's fighting in this area. That's number one. Number two, there is no other option but to bring peace and to negotiate, because fighting has been going on for a long time and so many people have been killed. The point is we have to go towards peace. The third point that you gave, I think the Americans will have to negotiate directly with the Taliban. That is very important, because the strength of the Americans has to be there. People has to understand that this is a meaningful negotiation and it will lead to some place. Otherwise, small groups doing this may not be worth the while. Last point, let me say one thing. That important point is that instead of having the forces here in this area, we should plan that they move out gradually and we have a peacekeeping force. We should have a single peacekeeping force who are not the NATO, who are not the people who have been fighting in Afghanistan against the Taliban or against the Afghans. We have to bring this peacekeeping force. And I would suggest the right people who could be the peacekeeping force is Turkey. Turkey are people who are friendly with Afghans, they are friendly with Americans, they are friendly with Pakistan, and they are probably friendly with Taliban.
Ahmed, Wali, Masood, I'm just wondering how you see the future of talks, negotiations with the Taliban, whether the West should have any involvement.
Well, let me say once again that, as I mentioned, that the Taliban started the war against the people of Afghanistan before foreign forces came to Afghanistan. I'm talking about 1994, 1996, they started. The foreign forces came to Afghanistan in 2001. So that is not a good pretext for Taliban, that our condition is for the foreign force to go out. The second thing is that when we want peace process, as I mentioned, we have to start peace process from the position of strength, not from the position of weakness. The government of Mr. Karzai is corrupt, is fragile, is weak. It does not have the popular support amongst the Afghan people. So therefore, we really have to go first for a stronger government in order to start dialogue in Afghanistan, to have the confidence and trust of the people of Afghanistan. So therefore, we really have to go for a national unity government in this country. So long as Mr. Karzai is the president and his government is weak and corrupt, we cannot hold peace in Afghanistan. Now, people who say that something has to start between America and the Taliban and Al-Qaeda is something out of the air. It's something that doesn't have nothing to do with the people of Afghanistan. We want peace in Afghanistan. The people of Afghanistan have to reach consensus. They have to have sort of government which they have to put their faith and trust on that government. The problem is here, not in the United States of America, not in Pakistan. The problem is here. We have to deal with the problem in Afghanistan, not the Americans, not the Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban there. So therefore, the best solution I can see is this: national unity government, then position of strength, start peace dialogue. Whoever wants and believes in the Constitution of Afghanistan should embrace, should come to the peace process.
Okay, just the last word I want to give to Ahmed Shah Ahmedzai. What's the feeling amongst Afghans? Do they think that their country will ever be rebuilt?
Why not? The kinds of wars are gone everywhere. If you look at the history of the countries, even Europe was gone through such crises. But the problem is the national government must be coming to the Afghans, and no interference from any military forces in this country.
Okay. There, I'm afraid we are going to have to leave the discussion today. Apologies for having to cut you off, but thank you very much to all our guests for joining us. Ahmed Shah Ahmedzai and Wali Masood in Kabul. plus Major General Jamshid Ayaz Khan in Islamabad. And thank you too for watching. Do send any comments and suggestions to insidestory@aljazeera.net. See you next time.